As your local mattress experts, we wrote the book called Sleep Better. We believe so much in helping you wake up happy. We wrote this book chock full of great sleep tips that you can use to wake up happy, and you don't even need to buy a new mattress. But I want to give you a free copy, and you can get that copy at gardnersmattressandmore.com/sleep-better.
Double deals, savings events happening now.
You're listening to the Bulldog Hour, getting you inside the Wilson football program with weekly game previews, recaps, highlights, and interviews. Now, here are your hosts, Joe Mays and Justin Raffoff.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Bulldog Hour. I am one of your hosts, Joe Mays. However, Justin is not here tonight. It's just me, at least in the main host chair. I'm not alone, however. I'm joined once again by a couple of guests this evening, but they are not strangers to the program. They have joined us before. Actually, we're already on once this season, back again for a second time. Jeff Reinhart and Mike Drago. Gentlemen, thanks for joining me.
All right, Joe. I expected to walk in and see some leftover Halloween candy.
Yeah, sorry.
I missed out on that Friday night. I was working.
That's right, you did. Yeah, we didn't even head down to your street. I said, Mike's not home. We're not going down that way. So, but appreciate you joining. Jeff also driving a little farther than Mike has to get here. So
worth the trip. Always fun coming here. You have the coolest workspace of all time, by the way. Spectacular.
Well, I wish I was down here more often for work. I don't get down here very frequently, but when I do, I enjoy it. I try to keep it very, very homey, and a lot to do with Wilson football on the walls and all around to look at. So, but we don't have a game to recap tonight. Wilson was on a bye, like most of District 3 6A was, and we're going to touch on those games. We're going to touch on, obviously, the upcoming Wilson game, hosting York High this coming Friday night. But we should have some time to talk about other topics, including maybe the other LL Burks teams, how they did in opening rounds, and some of the big marquee games coming up across District 3 this Friday. And at the end, maybe even have time to touch on future schedules, because I know that was released in the last 10 days or so, and there's some interesting notes coming out from the league schedule. So we're going to start off first, though. I want to thank the sponsors here at the Bulldog Hour for everything they've done for us here this season, season 11, starting with my dad and sister at Mays Sandwich Shop. Check us out at ordermays.com. and at 2525 Penn Avenue in West Lawn. And as you heard at the top of the show, Jeff Janakovo and Gardner's Mattress and More, all the way down in Lancaster, supporting us here at the Bulldog Hour, gardnersmattressandmore.com. Also sponsoring us this season is S&S Mechanical, Steve Simons. Check out their website at ssfirstmechanical.com. Eric Weiser, ericweiserhomes.com, realtor for Berkshire Hathaway Home Sale Realty. You can see his contact information up there on the screen, or find it on our website at bulldoghour.com, but you can visit Eric at ericweiserhome.com. And then, of course, the gentleman sitting here with me this evening, Mr. Mike Drago, MikeDragosports.com. Check out everything from him and his fellow writers at MikeDragosports.com, covering the breadth of the Lancaster-Lebanon League and focusing a lot on your Berks County football programs, including your Wilson Bulldogs, who Mike did get to see play Manheim Township Friday a week ago now, and we will get Mike's thoughts on that game before moving on to the playoff game here shortly. Last thing here, besides those presenting sponsors of the program, we want to thank the Miller family, Andy Herr, the Challenger family, and our two anonymous donors. Now, Justin and I will be back next Sunday, November 9th, which is not what it says on the screen, but that is what it should be. And we will be back once more for that show on November 9th. We will recap the Bulldogs game against York William Penn, and hopefully get to preview a semifinal game as well. But that will be up to the discretion of the Bulldogs this Friday night. All right, so Jeff and Mike, before we dive into the playoff game, the playoff preview, just really want to get your thoughts on the Wilson Manheim Township game from your perspective a week ago. I know, Jeff, you weren't at the game, but I'm sure you've seen the Streak play this year at some point.
3 times.
3 times, okay, yeah. So just your thoughts about the way Section 1 went this year, and specifically Wilson and Manheim Township.
Well, I think we both picked Wilson to win the section.
Yeah.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, in August.
And
Sure
I think they should have, but they just had a disappointing effort against Township. I mean, that section now for the last several years, with the exception of 1 year, 3-4 years ago, it comes down to Wilson and Township. Township, Mark Evans, credit to him. He's the only coach in that section who's been able to raise his program to the level that Wilson's at. And every year, gives the Bulldogs a good game, beats them sometimes. It's become a great series the last 8 to 10 years. Wilson, you saw it. They just did not play their best game against Township. 8 holding penalties. I'm not sure I've ever seen that in a
I
game.
knew they were 100+ in
Oh,
penalty yards.
I mean,
That's
and
a
those
lot.
and those are just killer penalties. Just because they put you behind the sticks, and to overcome a 10-yard holding penalty is difficult. To do it 8 times, it's just incredible. And the fact that the Bulldogs were still in that game with a chance to win it.
Inside the 10.
Yes, and I kept saying, I really don't believe this. How are they going to pull this out? Because I really didn't think they deserved it. They didn't play that well. I mean, if it's not for E.J. Brownback and that great tackle he made on, I think, 3rd and short, was it 4th down and short?
4th down, yeah.
4th down. I mean, he just stormed the pocket and stopped them inside the 20 or the 15.
It was close to
They
right
were going
inside,
in for another score there. It would have been, 17-0, and I just don't think they come back from that. But he stops them there, and Wilson was just kind of hanging on the whole night, but they just could not get the running game going. And you certainly need that because they've got some good passing weapons. The quarterback, Mason Young's doing a good job. Obviously, Michael Glover's a great target. Jaden Carpenter's having a great season. They got weapons. Now, is it Elijah Dean? Is it?
Eli Dean, yep.
He's out.
Yep.
They certainly could have used him. And, he's a nice weapon too. But you have to be able to trust your running game, especially now in the playoffs, and as the weather each week gets a little colder and wetter, and you need that running game, and it's just not there right now.
Yeah, one of the points that Justin brought up on last week's show when we were recapping it was Wilson hasn't done great running the ball between the tackles or straight up the middle. A lot of their game has been outside zone, outside read, off tackle tosses, which is fine, but you're putting yourself in the bullseye of the refs, the umpire, because when you're trying to go east-west, your arms are at a different spot than when you're running north and south. And it allows the refs to see holding happening, which, you'll talk to any coaches or broadcasters, they say happens every play. But the way they're running the ball allows those penalties to happen. Obviously, you need to fix it. You need to adjust. You need to do things differently. You need to perform better between the tackles, or you need to change the technique of the way you're blocking. But that was something that I thought Justin brought up last week and was an interesting way to look at it, that you're not running, A-gap, B-gap football. You're playing outside, and holding penalties are much easier to spot when you're running that way.
Are you surprised they don't have a 1,000-yard back yet? In
Well,
10 weeks? That's a little strange for Wilson.
It's symptomatic of the problem. I just don't think the offensive line has come together as well as it should.
Okay.
And I thought it was telling late in that game. There was a series, Wilson had the ball, and 3 or 4 plays in a row, they used their H-back, Michael Glover, to run the same play. It looked to me like the same exact play. And it's just telling me they didn't have faith that anything else was going to work, or I could see using that on a short yardage play, but no, they ran it like 3 or 4 times in a row, and it worked a couple of times, but they've got good backs. I mean, Carell Akins and
Monty Greer.
Monty, those are good
guys
backs.
can fly.
You give them a little bit of space, they're going to go, and we haven't seen that.
Did
So-
you look at the box score last week in terms of carries with the running backs? Justin and I mentioned this last week. Corral had less than 10 carries total, and actually I believe it was senior Ethan Harding that had the second most carries, right there with Michael Glover.
Right.
Harding is a very, very tough runner. He doesn't pose the same big play threat that Akings and Greer provide with their speed and elusiveness, but he's a hard runner, and he got them a few first downs when he ran the ball. Actually, he was the one running as they were approaching the end zone towards the end of the game. There was a few times I thought he was going to break it and score. Unfortunately, things changed. It didn't happen, and the Bulldogs ended up losing the game. Jeff, what did you think about Township this year in terms of their talent and athleticism on the field this season?
I thought they got better every time that I saw them.
Okay.
I saw them 3 times, and I saw them play York, who we're going to touch on here soon.
Yes.
Every time I saw Township, they got better. Kenneth got better. Better in the pocket. Better on the boots and the rollout stuff. The P.J. Myers kid has really come around as a really good running back. Marcos Fernandez has gone for over 200 plus a couple of nights. And we mentioned this kid coming on air, Darius Dixon, the wideout. Really nice player.
Who's the big fullback?
Bayou.
Value.
He's
Taylor
tough.
Value. He's a beast.
He is tough.
He's a beast, and he just like nose guard, and he's right in the middle of all things defensively. He's in the backfield constantly, fills gaps constantly. He'll take some big carries, and I forget which game it was I saw him. Hempfield maybe had a touchdown catch and a touchdown run, so they'll use him kind of sneakily in the right spots. They'll slide him in on, first and goal at the 2 or something. They've gotten better every week out. Wasn't totally stunned that they beat Wilson. I think we all picked Wilson that week and back in August. But Township's gotten better and better and better. And I can't believe this is going to come out of my mouth, but they've kind of flown under the radar as a 9-1 team a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They've seemed to be, Wilson and Township have seemed to be even the whole season. They both had early season losses and then just, Section 1, the rest of Section 1, they're just.
Hempfield had a decent year.
Yeah,
they're still playing.
They were better. But,
yes.
I just.
It's those two.
I'm just used to, I just remember the days when Section 1, you'd get 4 or 5 or 6 tough games.
Including McCaskey.
Yeah. I mean, Reading had its day, but right now.
Crest is pretty good, but then Crest would have
they're up and down.
Weird week.
They're up and down. And Hempfield's up and down. Hempfield was better this year, but the last couple they've been so-so. It's just, I think Township and Wilson need to look outside the league for the kind of teams that are going to help them improve.
Yeah.
And I think both teams have been attempting to do that. Maybe this last 2-year cycle, Township did a little bit better, finding marquee opponents,
Getting
and then
Nazareth was huge.
that was for Wilson. That was it was the 2 cycles ago. This current cycle, they had the same problem that Wilson did, because when Mid-Penn moved to the 9-game league
weeks.
schedule, Cumberland Valley was playing Township and Harrisburg was playing Township. That had to go away. Wilson lost Central Dauphin because of it. So those big Mid-Penn matchups that are usually just a foreshadow for the future in the playoffs, those games all went away because of what the Mid-Penn did 2 years ago. But if we have time at the end, we'll talk a little bit about schedules coming up, because there's some possibilities for I don't know about Township, but for Wilson that we can talk about. The one thing I wanted to point out or talk about in regards to Wilson Township is, and this usually comes up when Justin and I are talking about Wilson and Governor Mifflin, that you have to throw out records and what's happened on the field to date, because in a rivalry game, especially with high school kids, anything can happen. Yep. It doesn't matter. Their motivations are so wild and varying from week to week. Their attention's all over the place. Generally, you would think the team with the better athletes is going to win, but in rivalry games, that's not always the case. Normally, I always reference that for Wilson Mifflin, but Township has kind of become at least the section version of that. That's the team that has risen to the challenge over the last 10 years to meet with Wilson. And honestly, if I look back over the games since 2020 on, I don't know if the better team on paper has won at all.
I thought that was the case last year.
I completely agree. I look
would win at home in week 10.
Yes, well, I look back to the COVID year in 2020 when Wilson had all those injuries, missing all those starters. Didn't even have defensive coordinator Ernie Wolber there. Right. They were down coaches and key starters, 2-way starters, and won. And I thought Township probably should have won that game, and didn't happen. The next year, the teams were pretty even. Wilson won that in the rain. It was a gross game at Gursky. I don't know that either one would have been a surprising result. But 2022 and 2024, I thought Township might have been the better team, and Wilson won both those games down at Township. Now, 2023, that was Township all the way. They were the best team. They were the best team. They should have won the district championship, I think, that year against Harrisburg and made a lot of noise. But they ended up winning the section that year. But other than that one, even this year, I honestly, I think Wilson is the better athletic football players across the board, top to bottom than Township. But that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter when you play the game on the field. And just like last year, we thought maybe Township was better than Wilson, but Wilson won. This year, I feel like Wilson had enough opportunities to prove that they were the better team, and they weren't able to do it.
I'd love to see a rematch this year.
I
don't
think that's in the cards.
I don't think you're going to see that.
Yeah.
Maybe not. We shall see.
I mean, it's set up to be a possibility, but it would take both teams rising to immense challenges, as we will talk about some of those opponents sitting around the District 3 6A bracket. All right, so let's take a look now at Wilson's opponent this Friday for Game 11 of the 2025 season, and that is the York William Penn Bearcats. The game will take place at Instashine Car Wash Field at John Gursky Stadium, Friday, November 7th. The Bearcats are obviously a 6A team from York Adams Division 1. They were 6-3 in the regular season. They had a bye week, didn't have a full 10-game slate. And the last meeting between Wilson and York High was 4 years ago in the District 3 playoffs. Wilson was actually the 5 seed for that one, going to William Penn the 4 on November 5th, 2021. That ended up being a Bulldogs victory, 50-32, high-scoring game, lots of points for both teams. That one featured York High standout running back Jaheim White. He was quite the running back. He made Wilson pay a lot. Thankfully, the Bulldogs were led by Brad Hoffman and Jaden Jones on the ground game. And, of course, Jaden's younger brother Cam, also dangerous. Each of them scoring a few touchdowns. I think, actually, Brad and Jaden combined for 5 touchdowns in that game in the Bulldogs' victory. So not an opponent Wilson sees a lot. I think this might be the 5th or 6th all-time meeting between the programs.
4th?
Is it 5th? All right.
Wilson's 4-0.
Guarantee. Yeah, I knew Wilson was undefeated. Wasn't sure exactly how many games it was. And it has been 4 years since the teams have met. But that'll happen this Friday night. So that being said, take a look. I'll throw it up on the screen, what the Bearcats' schedules were. They seem to be a team that has gotten better as the year went on, other than running into the buzzsaw that was Central York, their rival at the end of the season. They had kind of a head-scratching loss to open the year to CD East on their home turf in their kickoff with the Rose Bowl, or whatever
that's a neat event.
that event that they have the opening weekend each year. They've been doing it for a few years. But they lost to CD East, who I think was 3-7 on the season. 2-8. Okay, so not even 3-7. One of their wins was against York, though, which was a head scratcher for me looking back, because CD's had struggled this year. Of course, that Mid-Penn was at the Commonwealth Division is pretty stacked, so it's a lot of teams to compete with. But CDA beat York William Penn 36-20 in game 1, and then one that's of note for the Bulldogs here is they took Hempfield to overtime. Actually, the Black Knights maybe should have won that game, gave up a punt return touchdown, and then lost in overtime. So that was definitely one. When you're looking at common opponents, that one stands out, as does the one the following week at Manheim Township. York lost to the Blue Streaks by 9. So, Mike, Jeff, I'll open up the floor. What do you guys have to say about York?
I don't know a lot about them. I mean, obviously, they have the Syracuse commit, Shivani Anderson. I think he had that punt return to beat Hempfield. I remember reading that story. That was a crushing loss for Hempfield. And they would have been, what are they, the number 6 seed? I mean, they could have been challenging Wilson for that 4 seed had they won that, and they lost another tough game. But I don't know a lot about York. I don't think it's one of their better teams. I get the impression they're a very young team. I read that they have 4 sophomores on the offensive line.
Yeah, they all started as freshmen last year, I
Yeah,
think.
I just don't think that's a good thing. But yeah, they were 2-7 last year, so maybe they just, they're taking their lumps and let's see where we're at. And maybe they're pretty good. I don't know.
They have a heck of a backfield.
Yeah.
Besides Anderson, you mentioned really strong 3-year starter at quarterback, Najee Still. He wears jersey number 1. I know a lot of our listeners like for me to point out numbers. They want to know who they're looking at. You mentioned Anderson. He's number 3, the running back, 3-year starter, and you said committed to Syracuse. So big time guy. I talked to some of the coaches already. They said quarterback, running back, receiver, all very good. Really, really talented offensive playmakers.
I think Section 1 of the York Adams League is sort of like Section 1 of the LL, other than Central York.
Top-heavy.
It's very top heavy, and some of these other teams, Spring Grove, Southwestern, Dallastown, they're up and down. Red Lion, they have a good year every now and then. They've all had their moments, but I don't think any of them are particularly strong this year.
Covered the York Township game, so I've seen them.
You were at the York Township game.
Saw them live. The Anderson kids were ridiculous.
Phenomenal.
Great. And I remember talking to Evans, the township coach, after the game, and jaw was dropped. He's like, man, that kid, he had over 200 yards that night against Township. I don't remember the number off the top of my head. It was a big number.
I don't like that.
Yeah, he's good. He's shifty, and he, if he gets to the corner, look out. One of those kind of kids. He's not like between the tackles. He's,
Okay.
toss left, toss right, and look out.
I mean, honestly, that's how they ran Jaheim White 4 years ago,
Yeah.
and he got his yards, he's got his touchdowns. It really comes down to the offense has got to score more. When the defense gets to stop, the offense has to capitalize if you're the Bulldogs.
He had the punt return against Hempfield, and then he scored the game winner in overtime. So George Yeager's like, I've had enough of these of this guy. That's enough. Okay, who's next? Should be an interesting game. Once you get here, the 3-6A bracket quarterfinals, should be a good game.
Yeah.
I don't like the bye week. We talk about this all the time. I just
You
don't like
prefer
the bye
just go right to 8 teams?
I don't know. However you want to do it. Go back to 4 classes. I don't care. Whatever you do, enough of the buys. In football, and this time of year when it gets cold, just keep playing.
Time for it to move on.
I mean, the problem is this is part of a statewide bracket.
Hey, sure.
Well, that's
And-
why I was going to bring that
Yeah,
up.
and it's just not going to work out that everybody's going to, not have buys. I mean, you look at some of the smaller classifications. When in this part of the state where there's only a few single A, double A schools, when you go out west, they've got so many single A's and double A's. So you got to balance that out. I mean, you go up to State College. I always thought they had a huge advantage because once it got to the state playoffs, they've got sometimes a double bye. Have they had a double bye before? Is that?
I'm gonna guess.
Well,
Yeah.
I think they might have a bye before their district championship game, and then they have a bye maybe after they win the D6, D10 or
Yeah,
whatever. They have
I mean,
to play Erie McDowell or
that's-
whatever.
That's huge in terms of getting your body feeling good again, because after 10 weeks of football, everybody's a little banged up and sore, and a week off I think is a bonus.
Can be. I guess it could be. We'll see.
Yeah,
See.
I-
Check on Friday. See if there's rust.
I don't
Some has it.
remember that being an issue at this level. We talk about it in baseball all the time. Like the Dodgers had to sit out for a week, and I think it showed up in the World Series. And that's been a case in baseball. I don't remember seeing a team coming off a bye in football and losing and saying, well, we should have played. I don't know.
I've had coaches tell me both things. I've
Yeah.
had some coaches say, well, we've had some injuries and we needed the week. And then I've had other coaches tell me flat out, I hate this week off.
Well, here's an example. Exeter, which did play this week, it actually turned out well for them because,
Really well.
they got a chance to play Riley Martinez in a game, which nobody was expecting him to come back. Now, had they had a bye, he would be going into that Conestoga Valley game, not having played a game in 10 weeks.
Well, yeah, I was going to say 2.5 months.
Yeah, so at least he's got a game now. He's got to feel comfortable. There was some rust spots there. He looked a little ragged in some areas, but now I'm sure he's going to be much better next week. So that not having a bye actually helped Exeter. So if you go back to that Hempfield loss, which seemed so horrible at the time, and it could have cost them, well, it didn't cost, not the section title, but it cost them a much higher seed. That may have worked to their favor now.
Yeah,
Strange as that sounds.
Yeah, they're one of the better 7 seeds.
Oh, my
Still
goodness, yeah.
dancing
Sure. Oh,
by a
100%.
mile.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to me, and I don't know if you gentlemen have been given any of the seen anything from the PIAA about the classification changes. Those should be coming out very soon. I know they don't get finalized until the first week in December, but they always put out like a first draft, usually around this time in November. There's a lot of expectations of a few LL teams moving up to 6A. I've been hearing Muhlenberg is likely to be one of them. But those haven't come out soon. I'd be interested to see how they change how many teams make the playoffs in each classification, because how many teams there will be in each classification. 2 years ago, 6A only had, I think, 17 teams, so they took eight to the playoffs. Now, the last 2 years, there's, 21, 22 teams, so they took 10. So how many is it next year? Are there more? Do they go to 16 teams again, like it had been for a long time when it was 4A? There were 16 teams making the playoffs.
16, 2 plays 15.
Right, yeah, and very straightforward. You don't have to do
there.
those. Oh yeah, who has a bye? Who's not playing this week? Yeah, it was very confusing for some.
Go to 5?
I don't know where Twin Valley will end up. They're moving sections in LL, but.
Yeah, it's a growing district, so yeah, it would not surprise me. They were in the highest classification for a cycle several years ago.
What? They were in like 4A.
I think it was 4 classes, and they
10
moved it. They
10
moved
years
up to
ago.
4A for a cycle, and then they were back down. But that's still, you think that area is probably has more
So
growth
they're
potential.
4A right now.
Yes.
Okay. I could see them up in 5A then. I don't think they're jumping up to 6A, but I could see them in 5A.
Right. And they can handle that the way their program's at right now. They're that won't bother them a bit to move up a class.
Oh no. Yeah, well, like Muhlenberg is one that I know I feel like has been on the cusp. Exeter, and obviously Mifflin, the last 2-year cycle, got bumped up to 6A after being in 5A for 2 cycles, I believe.
Well,
So.
Exeter's an interesting thing when you're talking about classifications. So I forget how this worked out, but they missed being 6A for this current cycle by
Only because they dropped the Antietam co-op.
well, also they dropped Antietam, but it was like by one student.
One boy.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was.
Well, I think it was with Antietam, they were like a half person over or something like that.
Yeah, it was a half of something.
Because they
yeah.
round up or something. I
Right,
forget what it was. Because
right.
the
So they-
enrollment, because in the co-op you take half the amount.
50%,
Yeah,
right.
50%.
That's
so
what
they
it
ended up
was.
with a half, and it put them over by like a half.
Right.
And then
So
that
they
co-op
just were like,
disappeared.
well, they said bye-bye co-op,
Right.
and yeah.
Are the Antietam kids playing with anyone?
They
It
were
was
shuffled to Reading High.
They're Reading, but I don't know how many took advantage of that.
I don't know either.
And Exeter seemed the perfect fit for those kids because they grew up together and they do a lot of little leagues stuff together. And there were years when Exeter had several Antietam starters, and they've had some
Oh.
pretty good
We've
players.
talked about one on the show because he was at Wilson. I coached him, Kyle Lash.
Yes, Kyle.
Kyle Lash
Yeah.
played for me and Raffoff at Wilson. Well, so technically he played for us at Wilson West, but he was a Wilson Southern kid. We were a joint middle school team the 1 year because there weren't enough kids at Southern. This was in the fall of 18, so this was the kids that graduated class of 23, the fall of 2022. Kyle Lash was on our team. We've talked about this on the show many times because I remember saying, man, I wish he was still at Wilson. He was a heck of a player. But yeah, his family had moved to Antietam, and then he got the co-op and got to play at Exeter and was a 2-year impact starter for them.
He had a mean streak in him.
He was a great player, great player. So, all right. Well, I don't have too much else to add about York. You guys, we talked about this beforehand. It's tough finding some information on the York teams. The coverage restrictions put on us didn't allow us to dive in too much about the nitty gritty, especially statistics were very tough to come by, especially when these teams don't update max preps. I know people love and hate max preps, but when you need it, usually it's there, and it was not there for this one. But we talked about the big time players. That backfield is the one that stands out. Quarterback Najee Still, running back Anderson, we mentioned. They also have a junior running back in Samir Gwynn, also putting up numbers this year, as well as big time bruising running back and stud linebacker Amani Bones. What a great name. Great football name, Amani Bones. But yeah, you mentioned, Jeff, having the linemen, the young linemen, or Mike, someone mentioned the linemen. They started at least 3, if not 4 freshmen last year, and now here they're all back again, ready to go as sophomores. I know you said, Mike, you didn't think that was necessarily a great thing to have. And the playoffs against Wilson, but I mean they're seasoned veterans now, 2 regular seasons down, ready to go. They had missed the playoffs last year, I think, for the first time in maybe the entire time Coach Stoner has been there. They were ready to fight back this year, and they did 6-3 overall. So should be an interesting game at Gursky Friday night.
I'd like to. Go ahead.
One note about York, and this has nothing to do with Friday's game, but one thing I didn't like to see, they had a win at midseason against Northeastern, which is a program that's really struggling.
Yeah.
91-0.
Yes. That's tough
which
to do.
Totally unnecessary. If you score 91 points in a high school game under the current rules, that means you wanted to score 91 points, because with the running clock in the second half, you have a lot of opportunities to get your number ones and number twos off the field and get your freshmen and sophomores on there. And they apparently didn't do that. So those things, what comes around goes around, and that's going to catch up with them at some point.
That was one of the games I wanted to read about because I wanted to know what happened there. I honestly, like, from the little bit I saw kind of like we talked about, Jeff, you messaged me when Wilson played McCaskey. Did Wilson really play 5 quarterbacks? Yeah. I thought I did see for York that they played 3 quarterbacks that night. I didn't get to read the whole thing because of, I'm not signing up for another site. I don't know. I don't need to know as much about York as I want to know about LL Burks. But I was interested to see a box score or a write up or something, because that was a Thursday night game too, wasn't it? I think it was. I think it was. Correct. So 91-0 is.
It's hard to do with a running clock.
It is very hard to do. It is very hard to. 'Cause, I mean, just think. You score 40, 50 in the first half. You have to double that in the second half. You're not doing that with You're not doing that with a running clock and, the JVs playing the whole second half.
And I don't know the whole thing. I don't know, like, who Northeastern had on the field.
Right, true. 100%.
Still,
it's a bad look. Let's just say that and move on. But it's a bad look.
We routinely see 50s and 60s. Occasionally you'll get a 70. Like, usually it's like exactly 70. When I saw 91-0, my jaw hit the ground.
Double take.
Yeah.
I'd like to be in the defensive room this week with Ernie and his troops, because this has got to be a run stuffer week for Wilson.
Oh, 100%. Yep.
They need everybody firing and crosshairs on number 3.
Yeah. Well, and you said they like to get outside and get him in space.
Yes.
So this is going to be an ends and outside linebackers. Hopefully, Brownback and Wyatt can come through the middle then and then clean things up, but they're going to need to set the edge, turn things back inside.
Yeah, that's what Wilson needs this week more than anything. And it doesn't have to be pretty. It's a playoff game, and who knows what the weather's going to be. So, win the game. Shut down the Anderson kid and play Bulldog defense like we've known and seen forever and a day, and they should be in good shape.
All right. Well, we'll finish up maybe with the future schedules at the end. I wanted to give you both an opportunity to talk about the other games around District 3, 6A, either the ones that just happened, first round games that maybe jumped out to you, or other matchups around District 3. We'll start in 6A, and then we can trickle down to some of the other classifications. The big one from LL perspective is Hempfield at Manheim Township. Obviously, they met this year already. Township by 1, at least in the box score, looks pretty handily, though I heard that Hempfield shot themselves in the foot in the red zone a few times. That could have made that game closer. What do you guys think about Blue Streaks Black Knights round 2?
I covered that game.
Okay.
Saw that. It was at Hempfield. 35-13. Township
Yes.
didn't axe them. It was a pretty good game. We'll see who's playing quarterback for Hempfield. That's
Is
my
Catch
question
still
mark.
dinged up?
Catch has been out, and this Landon Charles kid has come in and been unbelievable.
Is that a younger brother of a Charles? Wasn't there like a Brendan Charles or something?
Rings a bell.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like that stands out.
I'm going to Hempfield practice on Monday, so I'll probably snoop around and see what's up with Catch. But interesting matchup, old school rivals.
Mm-hmm.
They go back forever and a day. They play for a trophy. Be curious to see if Township just kind of keeping on here. They should have a lot of mo coming off the Wilson game, obviously. I hated to say that they were flying under the radar, but there have been other Township teams.
I understand what you were saying.
Just loaded, and we knew that they were going to be there. This team just kind of
that
went
Johnson
along
Kennel
and-
team from 2 years ago
they
was
were incredible.
ridiculous.
They were incredible, and they had an early loss, and they were still trying to find it. And now I thought by week 10 they were playing their best.
Mm-hmm.
So, interesting matchup. Again, they know each other. Just played 5-6 weeks ago. I'll probably lean Township. They're at home. It's a district game, etc. But I think Hempfield keeps it close. I'll be curious about their quarterback. We'll see. Mentioned Dixon, the wideout for Township. Orion Abrams, the receiver for Hempfield.
Hempfield, yeah.
77 catches, 1,017 yards, 12 touchdowns. He's been unbelievable.
Yeah, he stood out for me for sure. I wasn't sure if he was going to be able to be as studly as a couple years ago Micah Gates for Hempfield.
He was a good player.
He was a fantastic wideout, and going into the Wilson Hempfield game a month ago, I had seen the stats on Abrams. I was just like, hey, I'd like to see, I don't want to see you beat Micah Gates because he torched Wilson 2 years ago, despite the Bulldogs winning. But Abrams was impressive, and I didn't realize until recently that he's only a junior. And back next year.
Yeah, he's a nice player.
So
nice player.
Mike, anything on Township Hempfield?
No, that's Jeff's bailiwick. The fact that it's a league rivalry game, I think it's going to be a little closer than it might normally be. That should be a fun game.
Well, Hempfield has really impressed me. From the Wilson game on, they took it to Wilson in a way I didn't expect. They were very tough. The defense was stupendous. A couple things go a different way for them. They win that game. And I had been told pregame that the Township Hempfield game should have been closer than the scoreboard indicated, but wasn't sure what to expect. And then when I think you had messaged me. Were you at the Cedar Crest Hempfield game? Did you go to that? Someone messaged me that Catch wasn't playing, and I thought that was
Not sure.
a surprise. I didn't realize he had gotten injured.
I didn't know.
Right, you were at the game. I thought it was you. It could have been someone else. That Cedar Crest Hempfield Catch isn't playing. I was like, oh, well, that might change things because I had been talking about I thought Cedar Crest was the third best team in the league, and then Hempfield, what they were able to do against Wilson really impressed me. And then I was like, I think Hempfield's better than Crest. But once Catch was out, I was like, oh, I don't know now. Maybe
Charles
it's
kids
well.
really
Then
playing
Hempfield whooped up on Cedar Crest without Catch. So I think Hempfield has really peaked and gotten much better. The head-scratching losses at the beginning of the year, the unfortunate one, the overtime one against York, but that loss to Mifflin is really.
By a point, right?
Uh-huh.
Mifflin blocked a field goal, but still, to me, those teams were night and day.
I don't know how you can lose to Mifflin and beat Exeter. That's just
Isn't that wild?
unthinkable.
That's wild.
Yeah, because Exeter's a darn good team, and you were at that game, right? The Hempfield Exeter? No, you were not. It was down there. That's
I saw Exeter.
you beat Exeter, you're going to earn it.
Yeah, it's big time.
Now, you were at the Central York Manheim Township game, right, Jeff?
No.
You did not see
did
that
not
game.
see that
Oh,
one.
okay. I
No.
thought that might be one that you went to. Okay.
No, I saw him play York. I saw him
You
play
saw
Hempfield.
York, Hempfield, and
another one.
Okay.
Oh, Crest. I saw him play
and Crest. Okay. Anything you guys want to add on Central York Cedar Cliff? One of the other 6A ones. Central York's a machine. They're right. I mean, a lot of years they might be the odds-on favorite. Technically, power rating wise, they're the number one team in 6A. But Nace is back at quarterback, a legend. Johnson is back at running back. He's only a junior. I know they have a big-time receiver too. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. They've been very impressive. I don't think Cedar Cliff has much of a chance against them. I wasn't surprised Cedar Cliff beat up on Cedar Crest to make it to this round, but I think Central York is destined to advance and play the winner of Wilson, York, William Penn. And then, of course, the one that we haven't talked about at all, Harrisburg, who I think is still ranked as the best team in 6A in the state, are they not?
Yeah.
They're number one.
Yeah, number one. So, have you guys? Did either of you see Harrisburg play this year? No one saw Harrisburg play this year. And they are playing Central Dauphin, obviously a mid-Penn rivalry there. Central Dauphin squeaked by Cumberland Valley, also a big-time rivalry, CVCD. Central Dauphin led for only 3 seconds the entire game. They scored with 3 seconds to play, got the extra point, and 7-6, yeah. So interesting.
You sure you didn't click on an article from like 1972 or something?
Seriously.
Well,
7-6. I haven't
look at
seen a
that
7-6 game in years.
Well, and didn't Manheim Township beat Cumberland Valley 7-0 earlier this season
year,
as well?
correct. That was 7-0.
So low scoring affair.
Now, also, didn't Central Dauphin beat Cumberland Valley like 76-72
That was
once?
that was a
Like
six.
overtime.
I think it was 6 overtimes in the 2015 District 3
Oh, my goodness.
last District 3 4A championship, before 6. I shouldn't say last because obviously there's still 4A, but when it was the largest classification was yes, it was Central Dauphin, Cumberland Valley, 6 overtimes. I think the final score was 66-65 or something
Somebody,
like that.
I guarantee you, somebody missed deadline that night at Penn Live.
Probably.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Yikes.
all right. So that's 6A. That kind of covers it. I feel like most people are gonna go chalk here. I think that they would expect the top 4 teams to win. Honestly, I think the one that's I think Manheim Township Hempfield could be a very good game. I think Wilson York will be a very good game. The other two, I think Harrisburg and Central York are going to have their way.
Probably.
And they're going to be sitting there in the semis, whoever can win the battle in the other 2 games. Obviously, I hope it's the Bulldogs. I hope they get to play Central York. We had an okay time when we went to Central York 4 years ago. I don't know if that mojo will be on our side or not this year, but they got to beat William Penn this Friday first. So, is there anything in 5A you wanted to touch on?
Let me tee Mike up for this.
All right,
question.
have at it.
How good is Leo Brown?
Wow.
Oh my
Good.
goodness gracious.
He's pretty good. I mean, of the running backs I've seen, he's from locally. He's right up there because he's a nice combination of power and speed. He's got the burst. He's quick to the line.
Yep.
If he gets past that second level, he's gone. But he doesn't avoid contact. He runs between the tackles, and he's got 2,100 yards. As impressive as his stats are, he's that much nicer of a kid. He's just an uplifting, amazing kid. His coaches love him, his teammates love him, and he sat behind an all-state tailback last year.
2,000-yard rusher.
But I saw, Exeter would be up, 40 points at halftime, and then Leo would get some carries against the other team's number ones. And he was doing the same kind of stuff last year. He could have had 1,500 yards last year if if he was the number one or at another school. He's a handful. So Joe, you mentioned 5A. I think the biggest game of the whole weekend is Conestoga Valley Exeter for a lot of reasons. You were at the first one.
Yes.
How did Exeter not win that game? Brown has 300 yards rushing,
Yep.
and I looked at the stats, and how did they lose that game?
They're up 17-7 with 4 minutes left. CV gets a good drive, scores, boom. Onside kick, recovers, goes right down the field, boom, scores again. It was unbelievable.
And was the onside kick like a fluky type thing, or
If I recall, he drilled it like low, couple bounces low, skidded, and Conaway just kind of got around the hands guys, and there he was, bounced right on it. You don't see too many successful onside kicks.
No.
It's hard.
In high school these days. Most of them go out of bounds.
Yeah.
Or they don't go 10 yards. But, it was like everything happened perfect on it.
Did you see the Mifflin kicker in week 10 recovered his own onside kick? Yeah, it was beautiful. I saw a film of it. It was like a classic, dribble it down, and he runs ahead of the ball, and you've got the 2 guards that kind of knock people out of the way.
That was against Ephrata. Is that
Against
who they-
Ephrata.
yeah.
It was a beautiful play. They recovered 2 that night. It's a play that the underdog teams should try more often.
Sure, why not?
Because if your defense isn't good, you're going to give up an 80-yard drive just as easily as a 50-yard drive.
Right.
So, you know what? Take some chances.
Sure.
What the heck? But it's a cool play. It's a shame the NFL's pretty much banned it, right?
Well, you have to declare when
Yeah,
you'll kick an
that's-
onside kick,
that's
so there's no
ridiculous.
Tell 'em it's
surprise.
I don't watch that league anymore.
No,
There's no
Tell 'em it's
surprise.
coming.
You have
Yeah.
because of the
Yeah.
way they've changed the kickoff to what do they call it? Dynamic kickoff, I believe.
I
And
couldn't tell
the blockers and tacklers start 5 or 10 yards apart, but down at like the 30-yard line. Yeah, it's interesting. I have no idea if or when that'll ever come to college or then high school, but there's a lot you got to learn there because there's places you can and cannot kick, and if it lands, there's a landing zone or the team gets it at the 35 or the
Why don't
40.
they just flip a coin?
Well,
Heads, you
they're
recover. B, you
Well,
don't.
no, they should do it like we did when I first started playing football in the backyard. And you don't kick the ball. You just toss it up.
Toss it
That's
up,
the way we
yeah.
did.
throw it up
Just have
as high
your,
as you can.
have
yeah.
Patrick Mahomes stand on his own 20 and throw it 80
Well,
yards down the
they're
field.
trying to have their cake and eat it too. They want to encourage returns, but they want to limit injuries.
Yeah, and I understand the injury part because kickoffs are a dangerous play.
They are.
I mean, those guys are so big and fast, and you get a 40-yard head start, and I'm fine with that. But you know what? NFL, just eliminate all special teams. Just,
why not? Here you
just
go.
you know,
Well, the NFLPA will they're going to go to bat for kickers, right? Specialists.
I don't know about that.
I think honestly that the long snappers are getting the raw end of that deal. You know, I know there's a lot of people that would want to see kickers be gone from the league, but man, the long snappers that's another element that needs to be taught, and you become a professional long snapper.
Well, the kickers are, and it's the problem with the NBA. The NBA, they're too good at shooters.
Right.
Those guys, I mean, that 3-point line is way back there. And these guys make it like it's nothing.
Yep.
And the same with kickers now. 60-yard field goals are like, I
Well-
mean, we see 50-yarders in high school. It's not a
Not
huge
surprise me
deal.
anymore.
You're not like in shock. 40 yards, like, wow, okay, kid hit a 40-yarder. So the kickers in the NFL, they're just too good. And in college, too. It's just not interesting.
I'm assuming you say that and you don't even know that the new record was set today.
No, I don't.
Yeah, Cam Little of the Jacksonville Jaguars, who made name for himself in August for hitting a 70 or 70-plus yarder in the preseason, which doesn't count for records. He hit a 68-yarder today and is the new record holder in the National Football League.
I remember the old Tom Dempsey.
Yeah,
kid.
I was
Yeah,
thinking
it was straight,
Fascinated by
was
that.
straight on,
But
right?
Straight on
well, he
kicker.
was cheating because he had that.
He had
that
the block,
thing-
the-
that
yeah, the
club
club
foot
foot,
thing.
yeah.
It must have had like a lead
Yeah.
toe in there.
That was the
I
record
can't believe
for my
they.
whole life.
For a
Yeah,
long
me too.
time,
for
yeah.
like 20 years at least.
68.
And then it was matched and broken a few times since then, and now 68's the new
68.
record.
That's
so.
just that's ridiculous.
Well,
But-
he already did. It just didn't count because it was a preseason game. The kick he made would have easily gone through from 70 plus too.
but it's not
so.
interesting. I know it's called football, but really, we don't really mean it that way.
So Conestoga Valley and Exeter meet up at Conestoga Valley this Friday
Yeah,
night.
I think that's the game of the week in the entire all
Might be.
all 6 brackets.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you feel about that?
Well, I don't like buys. Exeter played, ripped it up. Brown had a huge game. They have a lot of momentum. They beat CB in the playoffs. It's the same scenario.
Same scenario as last year, yeah.
Well, except for this, Riley Martinez coming back has to
That's
throw
huge.
a huge curveball at CV, and not just from X's and O's and getting ready for him because they've got some film on him, but just kind of in the back of your minds, like, wow, we just barely beat these guys at home a few weeks ago with their wide receiver playing quarterback. How are we going to? I think it's a huge mental thing, a plus for Exeter to say we got our guy back. And for CB to say, where'd this guy come from?
Exactly.
You know,
This is my favorite bracket. Every game here is interesting.
Yeah,
I think.
well,
That's a great bracket.
Bishop McDevitt is hosting Mechanicsburg. Warwick is going to Solanco. Solanco already beat them once this year. And then you got undefeated New Oxford hosting Spring Grove.
it's a heavyweight division.
It's a
Yeah,
pretty good
this
one.
is,
Awesome bracket.
whoever comes out of this is going to probably win another game.
Well, do
Yeah.
you think one of those other teams can go toe-to-toe with
I
McDevitt
think this year more than
yeah.
more than
more
last
so
year?
than the last
Because
couple
McDevitt
years.
won the state championship last year, did they not?
Correct. I mean, they have a couple losses. I know
They
to
lost
somebody
to
from
Harrisburg.
New York.
They
or
lost to
somebody.
Harrisburg.
Yeah.
So.
So they have some losses, but it's not like, and it was Stone,
Yeah.
at that, those teams were great. So I think it's kind of gettable.
All right, well, how about in 4A? What do you make of 4A? Susquehanna Township's the number 1, 10-0. They're playing Elko, but then you've got a rematch from 2 weeks ago in the regular season finale. Lampeter Strasburg, Wyomissing in the 4-5. Then Twin Valley, you talked about, also undefeated, the number 3 seed taking on West Perry. Any of those stand out to you? I mean,
I tee up Mike here again.
Well, I mean,
I marvel at Twin Valley stuff.
yeah. Well, I'll be disappointed if I don't see a Twin Valley Wyomissing game at Gursky Stadium here in 2 or 3 weeks.
it probably won't be at Gursky.
no.
They don't ever host anything. It'll probably be at Exeter, maybe.
Oh, Exeter, yeah, Exeter likes to host.
Maybe
so
Mifflin. What's that?
Maybe Mifflin, maybe Exeter.
Exeter and Mifflin would probably
Yeah.
host that game. That,
That
would
would.
be my guess.
I mean, first of all, Twin Valley is just terrific.
Unbelievable.
I mean, I don't know if you saw the story I wrote this week about, I'm making a case for them as the greatest team ever. I mean, I didn't really say that, but regular season, just because of the numbers they did. But, I mean, among all their stats, 17 different guys have scored touchdowns.
That's amazing.
Does that strike you as a really big number?
That's amazing.
It does.
17.
That's a lot of different guys.
Especially-
you only have 11 on the field at a time, and a bunch of them can't touch the football, at least traditionally.
And
when
especially
the play
when their
starts.
two tailbacks who share that spot have 40 touchdowns. That doesn't leave a lot for everybody else, but
That tells me, too. Because you look at some of their scores, and you're like, 60.
Yeah.
Well, okay. But that tells me he's getting his backups in. Those guys are getting carries, and they're scoring. They're not running up the score. Their number 2s and 3s are just really good players.
and their defensive scores, and they're, by the way, I'll be the first to say, they're the favorite to win Section 3 next year. I just want to say that.
Probably.
Because of a lot of what you said, they're sophomores and
Their
juniors.
quarterback is only a sophomore, right?
Yes.
He hasn't thrown an interception, right?
Right, but their sophomores and juniors are getting a lot of time in this third, fourth quarters. So they're going to be deep and good again next year. But we get ahead of ourselves. So, but I just feel bad for West Perry. I mean,
They've had some good teams over the years, but they run into a Berks County buzzsaw. It had been Wyomissing for a while.
Yeah,
now they get Twin Valley.
Wyo beat them like 62-0 a few
I
years ago.
called that game, district championship game at Wyo on a Saturday, beautiful Saturday, and West Perry had some very impressive players.
Yeah, they had some good players.
But Wyomissing was just on another level.
Yeah.
Twin Valley has kind of just sucked everybody's thunder from that LSYO.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like Wyo's 9-1, and they're Wyo, and they're pretty good.
Ready to go.
Wyo's
yeah.
a
But
very
they're
good team.
But they're like under the radar. Like we're really not talking about them because
Well,
of Twin Valley.
This Wyo team is better than the one that took Lampeter to overtime last year.
I would agree.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, and Twin Valley really overshadowed them. Now, if you go back to that game, it was 7-6 at halftime, and it was 14-6 going into the fourth quarter. So it was a really good competitive game. And Twin Valley just pulled away because they're so strong. So I'm not dismissing Wyo for a lot of reasons. One, they're a very good team. They have great coaching staff, and you saw what happened last year. LS just pretty much handled
just
them.
better than everybody.
But the first meeting, they just handled them.
Yes.
And the second meeting, Wyo figured out some things, improved some areas, and they made it a game. They really should have won that game. They had a field goal and an extra point blocked.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were like a really good kicker, too. So it wasn't his fault. It was the blocking
And
broke
House
down.
made the crazy fourth down play.
Yes.
Saved the season.
Yeah. So they really should have won that game. And this Wyo team's better. So that's why I say if I don't see a Twin Valley Wyomissing
You'd be surprised.
championship, I'm not surprised. I'd be disappointed because I think they're the two best teams. Yeah.
Well, apologies to 1A, 2A, and 3A, but we're going to move on and finish the last 5 minutes here with future
World Series?
schedule.
I thought we were going to do the World Series recap.
Do any of us really want to talk about that? Orioles fans and Phillies fans,
Oh,
I don't know that we have
No,
much
I do.
to say.
It was one of the best World Series I've ever seen, and two of the greatest games I've ever seen. Game 3 and Game 7 were just. Did you stay up and watch last night?
Mind-boggling.
Last night was just amazing play after amazing play. But
Yeah.
okay, you guys don't want to talk about. So we'll talk about the Springsteen movie,
You
Deliver
haven't
Me
seen
from
that?
Nowhere.
Did you
Oh
see
yeah,
it?
awesome.
It's good?
Awesome. You need to see it.
All right, hey, there you go.
Yeah.
Big recommendation. I saw you post on social
Oh,
media about it.
Yeah,
so.
and I don't do that often. But
No,
yeah,
that's why it
This
caught me
is-
off guard. Yeah.
it was really,
I have to check it out.
really good.
Well, you already mentioned next year. You already saying Twin Valley's going to
We
win
already have
Section
the Section
3.
3 favorite
We already have the
next.
Section 3 favorite. We're not done with the Section 4 champ, who now is trying to win a district title. They're Section 3 favorite because they're flip flopping with Weiser. Justin and I talked about this on the show last week, so we don't need to touch too much about that. I wanted to talk more about Section 1 and the schedule.
Did you see the story I wrote today?
I didn't see your
Yeah,
story
about that.
today.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
here you can talk to me about it, and I'll read it afterwards.
Yeah.
But
So
are you going to answer my big question of how some teams have 2 home versus 4 away in the section?
Switch the
no, I didn't.
Oh, I know that. I know that. It's just weird that they're not just all 3 and 3.
No, I wasn't going to touch on that. I was just say it was from everything I had heard in the offseason, and maybe you did too. They were going to go from 5 sections to 4 because the big schools like Wilson and Reading and Hempfield, Mount Township had that mid-season bye to fill, which is really difficult.
hard.
And everybody was complaining about that. So if they went to 4 sections, then you'd only have 1 or 2 non-league games. But they came up with a really good solution, and the York Section 1 of the York Adams League has the same issue. They have 7 teams, and they were all filling mid-season buys. So now we're going to see the 2 leagues
Right.
have sort of mandatory games.
Yep.
Wilson will play Central York.
Yep.
Township will play York High. I think Reading plays Spring Grove. So everybody's been assigned a team that you're going to play. And I think it's a really great idea. Then for sections 2 and 3, they're going to do
crossover
which
games. We saw years ago.
Right.
LL did mandatory Section 1, Section 2 crossovers.
Cycles ago?
Wilson played with Mannheim Central.
It's been a while. It's been a
It
while.
ended in 2021 was the last year. We had so 22, 23, 24, 25. Yeah, so it's 4 years past because last time Wilson played Mannheim Central was 2021.
All right. So those Section 2, 3 games, they won't count in the standings as
Correct.
league games.
Yes.
But what they
They're
do,
good games.
they'll be good games, and you don't have to drive to Philly and play somebody.
Week 7.
Yeah, it's just
Bristol.
ridiculous.
Brian
So,
Spot, Bristol,
but
and
the
week
best
8.
thing about this, and I've been chiding the coaches at Exeter and Twin Valley for a couple years because they won't play each other in the non-league. And I think last year in week 2, I just remember they both won like 68-0, and I wrote, "Why? Wouldn't it have been much better if they played each other?" Well, guess what? Kismet.
Each other.
They were forced to
They
play
are
each
now
other in a
assigned to
non-league
play
game.
each
Yeah.
other.
That's pretty cool.
And I think it's a week 9 game, and so that's going to be a great game next year. That'll be one of the best games in the league.
Well,
is Twin Valley versus Exeter.
So a few weeks ago, I heard through the grapevine that Wilson was playing Central York. This was probably about 3.5 weeks ago now. And I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And then I found out it was week 9. I was like, well, that's got to be the marquee matchup of week 9. And then I saw Exeter Twin Valley. I was like, oh, man.
Right, that's right.
I was like, now we're going to have people split of who's going to go to what game. I said, obviously, it depends how the first 8 weeks go. A lot can change in the course of a football season, but I thought for sure Wilson Central York would be a marquee game. And then I saw Exeter Twin Valley. I was like, oh, wow.
Well, they'll both be great games. Yeah. Maybe we can get somebody to move one to a Thursday or a Saturday.
You're going to need to talk to Twin Valley and Exeter first because
Twin
I can know
Valley-
what Doug's going to tell
I
you.
know Doug will. Twin Valley is not opposed to playing a Thursday game, so
They played some Thursdays.
Yeah.
Yeah, they might.
So the LL section schedule is out. Mike just kind of broke down the way that it worked to keep at 5 sections, but alleviate the non-league scheduling headaches that some programs were going through. The biggest change in all of this is that for Wilson, from a Wilson point of view, is Mifflin's probably moving back now to the to the opener.
Week 1.
Week
has
1.
that been official?
It,
yet?
not official,
Right.
but that's the way it's trending
Right.
right now.
That's
the
what
way
I
it
had
should
heard,
be.
but
Yeah. So if they were Section 1 opponents, I wanted it week 10. If they're
Yes.
not Section 1 opponents, I want it week 1.
right.
And that's where we're going now. Because mid-season is weird. Game 6
Yeah,
for
it's
Wilson
just- it's a
Mifflin
nothing game.
It
It
doesn't.
just-
It feels weird.
It became just sort of another
Yeah,
game.
and I didn't even like it when the whole week 0 bull crap that I've always
No such
hated.
thing as
Right, exactly. So what Mifflin got moved to week 1, which was game 2, because Central Dolphin had to be in week 0, game 1. And I know that they were, oh, well, it's Labor Day weekend. There might be people able to come to the game that couldn't otherwise. Okay, I understand that. But I feel like you need to start with the rivalry. You need to end with the rivalry. And I'm hoping these changes allow that to happen. That's the way it was trending last week. Last I discussed it with people. So it looks like Mifflin moves up to 1. The interesting thing, after finding out Central York was 9, I was like, wow, what a way to end the season. Central York and Mannheim Township back to back. No, Mannheim Township is now the section opener. in
I don't
week
like
4.
that. I don't like that.
I love that the last couple cycles that they were week 10.
Yeah,
That's
it's
just
been like that
so
for a
great.
while, at least the last 4 years. I'm
And
trying to think.
then I
2020
think
was a
now-
weird year,
Last
so it
4,
doesn't
yeah.
count.
I think
So
Township gets Hempfield last, which is a rivalry
that's a
for them.
rivalry game for them,
But
sure.
now, they play in week 4.
Now you're
they get the
opening
early
section
leg up,
play,
and then
yeah.
you see how it goes.
Sure, because Wilson gets to now finish with McCaskey in week 10, the week after they'll play Central York. But the other thing about Mannheim, I mentioned about how Wilson, I was alluding to, Wilson only has 2 home section games. They have 4 road section games. But Mannheim Township has to come back to Gursky next year with the way
Right away.
it shakes out. Yeah, immediately come back in Game 4 on Friday, September 18th. And I can cut off the people whining and complaining about that from Mannheim because Wilson had to do the same thing in 2017 and 2018. It just happens. It always works itself out because it's a 2-year cycle.
Right now, there are people sitting at home saying, "What difference does it make?" But this stuff rules our world.
Oh, right.
Like
Well,
what week? Week 4? Week 7?
It
Yeah.
makes the difference for that kid who waits till he's a senior and he's a starter, and then
Sure,
you know,
yes.
now or maybe
Right.
he's a starter as a junior and a senior. Is like I still have to go to play at Township 2 weeks in a row or 2 years in a row.
Well, the same thing happened for, I know seniors were bummed when we had to go to Mifflin 2 years in a row. We went there in 21 and 22. So those seniors in 2022, fall of 22, thought they were going to get Mifflin at home, and they didn't. They had to go there again.
Cycle.
It's just the way it works out. Sometimes I think Wilson Mifflin agreed to flip-flop it. Obviously not a section game, so it's not coming from the league. That was done by the head coaches and the ADs. And it was because the way it shook out for Mifflin, I think they would have had 3 or 4 straight road games if they didn't flip-flop it. So they said, hey, can we flip-flop this?
Yeah.
And that's the way it worked out. So
I'd mention quickly here, Tommy Long, outgoing football chairperson.
Oh, who's taking over?
We don't know yet.
Oh, okay.
I could probably throw some guesses out there, but I won't do that. Tommy Long ushered in the Burks coming in, and he ushered in
Is he AC? Yeah.
AC
and
football
Colonna.
chair for the last 15 years. Just an amazing job that he's done. Section changes every year. The effort of Lebanon stuff a bunch of years back with
Dropping them down, yeah.
and he took a lot of flack for that.
Oh, I feel like that was the right thing to do.
At the time, yeah.
Oh, look where effort is at now. I know it
Effort has
hasn't
come
helped.
out fine.
I know it hasn't helped Lebanon. I know they're at risk of challenging. Is it the state or
State.
national weapon?
They tied the LL
State.
record.
They tied the LL. And
they're
four
four or five away
four-
from the state
Far
record.
away to tie.
So it didn't. But
That's
I mean,
a done deal.
what was it? Chris Miller at Ephrata. What he's done with that. I mean, great turnaround.
I saw this stat the other day. With Miller as the coach, Ephrata is 500.
That was not the case before he was
When
there.
he came in, I think they were still in that losing streak.
Yeah.
And he took them
Yeah.
out of that and to a district championship. But tip of the cap, Tommy Long. He's just been amazing. I mean, he is football through and through, and he eats and sleeps this stuff. And I think he's done a great job just ushering in the era that we're in now in LL.
Now, why is he stepping down? Is he retiring altogether,
no,
or
just,
I think he's taking on more administrative duties
Yeah.
at the high school. I don't know if he is a vice principal,
He
but
is.
he is. But I think he's got administrative designs.
Yeah.
on his plate.
Yeah.
And I think he felt good about, okay, got the next cycle figured out.
Yeah.
We have these
this is the
crossovers
time to
figured out.
leave?
Good time to go. And we'll see who gets it. It has to be an AD in the league.
And I'm
Is that a rule?
Yeah.
well, I'm guessing a full-time member of the league, not a
Oh,
what do
yeah,
they
it won't
call
be-
it?
Won't be a Burks, an
That's what I
associate
mean,
member. No.
Associate member, yeah, that's
yeah.
it.
No.
So it's probably going to be a
Yeah.
blank
Well,
bag.
honestly, that sounds like a fantastic opportunity for Justin and I to have an off-season Bulldog Hour interview with Tommy Long. He sounds like he'd be a great guy to talk to about some
He'll
of this.
talk your ear off.
Hey,
On the
that's what this
record
is
or
about.
off. Yeah, anything you want to know about LL football, he'll.
Wow. I might have to reach out to him for a show in the late
I-
winter, early spring.
If you remember, he was a really outstanding running back at
Lebanon Catholic.
Lebanon Catholic. Yeah,
Oh,
I think
oh,
did he
no,
set the league
RIP.
record or he's close to it? I know
He's
he's like
in the top.
yeah.
I think he's second or third in
Yeah.
rushing.
So that must have
career.
hurt him big time when that school closed.
Yeah.
So
Ugh, disappointing.
he was a stud.
So the only other thing I wanted to say before we go is Wilson's still looking for a few non-league games at the beginning of the year. Have some feelers out there. Reached out to Council Rock South. Reached out to Emmaus. CB West is hanging out there as a possibility. But then
That
I
would
was
be great, by the way. CB West would be awesome.
then I heard if Muhlenberg is 6A, there's been open dialogue there as a possibility. A Wilson Muhlenberg game in weeks 2 or 3. So
I don't see that happening.
you don't see it happening.
Not right now.
Not right now.
Muhlenberg's not ready for that.
Well, I had also thrown out there, I mean, immediately after he took over the job, now that we're 2 years in, I said, how about reviving the Boyertown rivalry, Wilson-Boyertown with Jamie Sands down there. It's not sure that they're quite ready. Maybe another 2-year cycle down the road.
How
Same
did they
thing.
finish up this year, Boyertown?
I think they might have hit 500.
Okay.
I don't know how.
Okay.
So I think they were either 4-5 or 5-4 with the pack crossover game, and I don't know how they fared this past Friday. But Jamie comes in the sandwich job. I'll have to talk to him about it. I congratulate him. He's great. I mean, 2 years and already at or around 500. Boyertown had been struggling, and this year started. I mean, they beat Perkiomen Valley. You know, they're having a pretty solid season after being down. So I threw out. I was like, hey, let's get to Boyertown on the non-league. You know, Wilson Boyertown used to be a pretty good non-league staple. At least when I was growing up and things like that. So it'd be nice to see them back. But
That'd be great.
Good
yeah,
for-
we'll see.
Good for Jamie. I'm glad it's working out for him. That's
Yeah.
not an easy place to coach football, for obvious reasons, because baseball's so
Baseball's number
dominant.
one, right?
But Jamie, I mean, outstanding player at Wilson. One of my all-time favorite Bulldogs.
Yeah, and he really paid his dues, and he assisted at a lot of places. He was at Township. He was at Wilson. He was at a couple other places. Sorry, Jamie.
Lancaster Catholic.
Catholic. He put in his time, put a lot of miles on his car. By the way, and happy he gets a program.
So they were 6-4.
Wow.
They beat Phoenixville in the crossover game 49-7, and then had to
districts?
match up with North Penn in the
Oh, that's a
District
tough
1
draw.
playoffs. They lost a Halloween night 42-14 in the D1 6A first round, but 6-4 in year 2
Good on
for
him.
them, with wins over Norristown, Perk Valley, Methacton, Upper Perk, and Avon Grove. So lost to Exeter, got a non-league game there, but yeah,
That's the best they've been since Ron Zieber was there.
Ron Zieber, former
Wow.
infield coach.
and Exeter.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Okay.
anything you want to say before we get out of here?
Where are you going Friday?
I think I'll probably be seen at Gursky Stadium.
All right.
Okay.
Sounds good.
I got CV Exeter.
You got CV Exeter.
Rematch.
The rematch should be a good one.
It'll be interesting.
Anything like last year, I guess if you're following the trend, Exeter would come out on top in a big way, right? That's the way it went last year. Close game loss in the early season and rebound a couple weeks later with a big win for the
I
Eagles.
didn't do
So
my picks yet, but I'm not looking forward to that one.
that one's going to be
That's
tough.
going to be a good game.
So, all right. Well, Jeff, Mike, thank you so much for joining me again here on probably a non-traditional version of the Bulldog Hour. Last year we didn't have this bye-week episode, but I didn't want to miss out because I know the season's coming to an end and I hate it. So anytime I can talk Wilson and high school football, I'm going to take that opportunity, and I love talking those things with both of you. So
Call us anytime.
thank you
Joe.
so much for the coverage. Thank you so much for coming on the show again. Enjoy Friday night. You guys have anything Saturday this week? No Saturdays.
YO's home. Yeah,
You gotta-
YOLS. We didn't even really talk about that. Do you think LS has any chance to make that a game?
I'll take YO. LS has just had a weird year.
Yeah.
And their quarterback was hurt for a little bit.
Right.
I don't know if he's all the way back.
Are they still missing some other people?
That I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Covering 37 teams, man.
Yeah,
A lot
right.
of
It
kids.
there's a lot bouncing around in there.
Yeah,
I
it's a lot
know.
of kids.
Well-
I like YO there, though, but LS has just been great here the last couple of years.
Yeah. Well, Saturday, I would love to go to Wyo and take in a fall playoff game of the Spartans, but I'm actually going to be up at Lehigh to watch Cam Jones and Holy Cross play Lehigh. So I'll get to visit one of my former players and a former Bulldog. Finally get to watch him play. I know Lehigh's got a pretty good team this year, so it'll be interesting to see what Holy Cross can do. Hayden Johnson, absolutely. Yeah, another Manheim Township mentioned already on this show tonight, coming up again. So, all right, guys, thank you so much. Justin and I will be back in 1 week, November 9th, to recap Wilson's game against York William Penn in the District 3 6A quarterfinals. We will see you all Friday at Gursky, but until next time, remember, go Bulldogs.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Bulldog Hour. Want more Wilson football? Follow the show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud. Or visit www.bulldoghour.com. The Bulldog Hour is a featured program on jmnjrradio.com.